Lee Marsh, hello Lee, asks, when your time demands allow very little space to organize the workshop, how do you cope? Well, for instance, this week, my time demands don't allow any kind of complete shop cleanup, and the shop is an unholy mess. I am also in this liminal space of having too much stuff and not enough room for it, and I haven't yet figured out what I need to move. I did get rid of the pool table. That helped a lot, but there are still like category after category after category of stuff that needs space. So the primary thing that I do when cleaning and organizing can't happen for a period of time is I go easy on myself. I remember that walking into the space and seeing the mess is going to stress me out a little bit, but that I can chill because I'm making plans to slowly deal with it. It's just going to take some time. And maybe it's because, I'm a lifelong ADD sufferer or enjoyer, depending. It is both a superpower and a curse. I don't do as well. I think personally, I don't feel like I do as well with the liminal space. And by liminal, I mean the in-between space. So the shop right now is in a state of flux. I have to come up with a plan to bring it out of that flux. And, it's just takes time. And when something takes time like that, it can stress me out and cause me consternation. And I can sometimes feel like desperate, like, I don't know how to tackle this beast. And again, it's just about like going easy on myself. Carrie Shanahan says, the pandemic and shutdown in 2020 allowed me to spend time that I didn't previously have and create a fantastic workshop in my small 10 by 12 shed in the backyard. Congratulations. That's got to be great. The transformation of that space is something I'm very proud of. You should be. That it is a space you want to go to and that you want to work there. That's huge. That's just massive. Carrie wants to know, what is a piece of shop infrastructure that you have made that shutdown time that you're most proud of? Two things. One is that I fixed a problem that I'd had with my lathe for years. Inside my lathe is called a tool room lathe. It is a 15 by 40 inch lathe. That means it's a 15-inch diameter and 40 inches of bed length. The actual working size is a little bit smaller than that. But as an engine lathe, it's got this huge gearbox. And there's all these levers for adjusting the gear speeds and the feeds and formulas on the side of the machine for applying really specific feeds for threading and such like that. And one of my dials for the last several years has not been reaching one of its 4 settings. And it was just like, I get 3 and then that last one. And I was working around it for a long time because I just didn't know, who do you call to fix a 40-year-old lathe? I know there are people I can call to fix a 40-year-old lathe, but then at the same time, I'm like, am I really going to call someone to do this? And I never got around to it. And the moment the lockdown happened, I came in here and I was like, well, I got nothing to do but try this out. And so off camera, I took the lathe apart, which is, I've told this story before. I know I seem handy and I have this shop and I am handy. Despite my handiness and all of my experience, I find the idea of opening up a machine that I don't know how it exactly works inside and trying to find a problem and then fix it is scary. It's genuinely bile-inducing. It spooks me because, yeah, so, one foot in front of the other, I took the top off the gearbox. I cleared everything off the lathe, cleared the floor around, took the top off the gearbox, looked inside. I see a bunch of big gears sitting in an oil bath. So I pull out a siphon. I siphon out all the oil that I can. Now I'm looking at the gears and I'm moving the levers and I'm moving the levers and I'm just trying to see what I can see. And the comedian Robert Klein used to have this very funny routine about how whenever someone's car breaks down, they open up the hood and they look in there. And he's like, what are they looking for? Are they looking for something that says, fix me, fix me, fix me? And the answer is, yeah, that's exactly how we solve problems. you look for the obvious thing first. So you open up the hood and you look inside. And frankly, I've fixed lots of cars just by opening the hood and looking inside, which is how I tackled the lathe. I then went on to find, it turns out that what was happening was a gear that sat on a bearing the bearing had come out of the center of the gear. Not all the way, but enough that the bearing was inhibiting the gear's ability to engage. And so without taking apart the whole machine, I actually managed to weld together a tool for wedging and specifically purpose-built for getting in there. And you're probably wondering why I wasn't filming this. And really the answer is, with stuff that is that uncertain, I need the extra headspace for the project, not for the filming. I love, love, love covering stuff, and I love being uncertain when I'm building things and still covering it. But there is a certain type of uncertainty, which is like mechanical problem solving, specifically, that there are times I just can't have the camera running because I just need all of my attention on this task. In addition to fixing the lathe, I also built tons and tons of infrastructure around my milling machine. I built a special machine tool cabinet. I built new shelves. I built new sorters for all the, well, I mean, I spent so much of the lockdown, what machinists would call chasing zeros, getting more refined in my ability to both visualize and utilize the high precision of my machine tools, the lathe and the mill. And the infrastructure I built around it, Tom Lipton told me, he said, yeah, you set things up. He knows machinists like me. It's like, you like it set up like a fighter pilot, like everything at your disposal. I'm like, that's exactly the aesthetic that I am looking for. I want it all like right here. I want to be able to work with, not to work without thinking, but to work intuitively so that everything I expect is where I expect it to be. And that infrastructure, it holds on both of these machines. And again, I just did a bunch of new stuff around the lathe, but it was more like modifications of stuff I came up with during COVID rather than brand new bits of infrastructure. Much of what I built this week in the infrastructure department is stuff I already had. I was just refining it and making it better. You know, we are getting some live questions. 7:30. Who wants to have dinner at 7:30? 7:30 at night? That is really late. Sorry. Joshua Schisser says, have you ever made a large equipment purchase without a plan for where it will go in the shop? Have you ever had to reorganize on the fly? Well, those are two different questions. No, I've never bought a large tool without knowing where it would go. The space is too much at a premium here. I'll tell you the tool I want right now. I want a surface grinder. Now, a surface grinder is like the last step of machining stuff. I'll show you something. So this is not a 1, 2, 3 block. This is a 2, 3, 4 block, 2 inches by 3 inches by 4 inches. And pieces of machining equipment like this, they are machined close to tolerance, but they are finished on a surface grinder, which is a grinding wheel that moves and can take off very, very small increments, microns at a time. And high-end machine equipment is mostly finished on a surface grinder, and I've been starting to get excited about taking my machining to that level, and they make beautiful surface grinders that are like this wide and like this tall, and it wouldn't take too much to fit it in here somewhere, but I still have no idea where that would be. And until I know where it would go and how it would fit in, I can't bring it in. So no. What did I do with my drink? I moved. Oh, my phone is leaning on it. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects, questions. You get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.